What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining us and welcome into Attacking Third. Whether you're joining us on Golazo Network or on YouTube, youtube.com/Attacking Third. And of course, you can also listen to us as a podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Alongside Sandra Herrera, I'm Lisa Carlin. It's been a minute, Sandra, since we've done these Wednesday shows, 4 weeks to be exact. Now, we've talked a lot and we've been on the recap shows for the U.S. at the Olympics, but it's a different feeling on Wednesday morning. How are you?
Pretty good. I can't believe it's been 4 weeks. It does feel like it's been a month. I'm just like, in my brain, I'm like, oh, the Olympics were only so long. But, we prepped so much before, and then now we're closing it out. And I'm happy to be back. I love the tossing it back to the OG days and just hanging out with you in front of a
No,
camera
it's
amongst the
too fun.
people.
It's too fun. And you're rocking your hats again. The people love the hats, Sandra. They love them. They
Tech made
love
me strong.
them.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, since we're wrapping up the Olympics, should I bring back the beret just for one last time? I
Yes.
thought about it. I'll think about it. Maybe during one of the breaks, I'll do a costume change. We'll see.
Oh, a costume change. I like it. Well, since it's been 4 weeks and we haven't done this in a while, we usually wear kits, but you're not wearing a kit today. I'm wearing a kit. We're off our game a little bit, but
We're gonna get it right together. But I'm loving that kid. I'm glad I didn't wear one because we need to show some love to this kid. Very good stuff.
absolutely. This is Carolina Ascent. They are in the USL Super League. They're going to play in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the USL Super League season starts this weekend on the 17th. I have a very good friend, Ellie Beard, who plays on the team, and they sent me this kit. So shout out Carolina Ascent for this. Go Ellie, cheering for you. But we have a lot to get into today, Sandra, because we're going to do a little bit of a since we've been gone episode. No, Kelly Clarkson is not joining us, but it's like in case you missed it, but better. We're going to talk about what we're excited for coming up at the NWSL returning, the Super League starting, the Women's Super League in England starting up. And then, as always, we'll close out with our in case you missed it news and notes segment that we always do to fill you in on everything that's happened around the world of women's football that, frankly, we haven't had enough time to talk about. Before I get into everything, though, we have a very special announcement because we are happy to say that we are now a finalist in the People's Choice Podcast Awards, thanks to you, everyone that listens and watches us. But we can still use your help because now that we have made it to a finalist, if you voted for us to get to this point, you have an opportunity to vote again. So check your email. And if you have something from People's Choice Podcast Awards, click on us and give us that final vote. Voting is open through September 3rd. So thank you, everyone who helped us make it this far. Let's go one more. Sandra, let's do one more. Absolutely. Okay, so since we've been gone, some things that have happened is the U.S. women's national team has won their 5th Olympic gold medal thanks to a Mallory Swanson 57th minute game-winning goal over Brazil in the final. In terms of domestically in the States, what has happened, the NWSL Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup took place during this Olympic window, and it's Kansas City Current and Gotham FC who have made it out of their group stage through the semifinal, and they are headed to the Summer Cup final that will take place October 25th in San Antonio, Texas. You can watch that match on CBS Sports. And over the last 4 weeks, there were a lot of transfers. But before we get to all of them, we want to touch on the Olympics one last time and talk about our favorite beyond the medal moment. So a U.S. women's national team crossover moments or other Olympic moments or other events that happened, because at the end of it all, there were 40 gold medals won by the USA in this Olympics, 126 medals for Team USA overall. And there were a ton of really cool moments that came from these Olympics in Paris. So if you're joining us live on YouTube, let us know in the chat, what is your favorite beyond the medal moment from this Olympics that you're going to remember moving forward? And while you're thinking about that and typing it in the chat, Sandra and I are going to share ours with you. Okay, Sandra, you first.
I it brings a little tear to my eye. It kind of feels like closure on this chapter. It's like, okay, we're officially moving on from the Olympics. And maybe this is very just kind of an umbrella or generic kind of like feeling. But I just love that these Olympics just felt like the Olympics. The Tokyo Games were affected by the coronavirus pandemic. It was postponed a whole year. And even when it returned, they had so many protocols in place to rightfully ensure the safety of athletes at the games. But for a lot of things that meant no fans in stadiums, it meant separation of athletes from other teams. So I loved kind of just all these crossover moments between the women's national team specifically, because Team USA is also like Team Women because they were bringing home all these medals. Like, shout out to all the women athletes at the Olympic Games for Team USA, because they definitely stacked that gold medal, or excuse me, the total medal count. But I really liked all the crossover moments, though. It's something to say that like all of these athletes were in the same place at the same time, maybe even on similar schedules as they were competing for medals. So anytime there's any like social crossover or literal like selfie moments, I loved it. I loved the Lynn Williams, Roosevelt, leg sleeve shout out to Asia Wilson, and Asia Wilson,
Yeah,
like,
that was
go get
cool.
that gold. Like, I loved all of that stuff. And I think part of why we have talked about the Olympics over the course of these last couple weeks and how they just felt like so good, so fun, and they just felt like just wonderful games is because it kind of felt like they were back, like for real back.
The
So
first time since Rio, really.
shout out to the Olympics, man.
Oh, I like that. The crossover moments were pretty cool. I for this exercise, I couldn't pick just one. I think we have to give a shout out to Katie Ledecky,
Oh,
the
God.
swimmer who picked up her ninth gold medal, 2 in the freestyle, the 800 and the 1500 meter. She got silver in the 4 by 200 meter freestyle relay, bronze in the 400 meter freestyle. And she has 14 medals overall, becoming the most decorated American woman in Olympics history, which is absolutely badass. It is so cool. Then I was thinking of like the off the competition field moments that
Yeah.
happened. And I was thinking like outside US soccer because there are so many there,
Yeah.
right? Like triple espresso and everything that happened there. Trinity Rodman's pink braids being so legendary, and even her moment
Thank you
after
for
the
your
Olympics,
service.
cutting them all out, being like, "Thank you for your service. You did your
Yes.
job." But outside of the women's soccer, Simone Biles in the
Oh,
team finals floor routine, when Biles steps out of bounds on her
oh,
floor routine and just rolls her eyes and
yep.
says, "I don't even need to stay in bounds because my difficulty is so high."
It's
And
so
she
good.
still ends up winning gold for her team because of that. So that was one moment that I was like, that is
Yes.
so cool that she knows she makes a mistake and just kind of rolls her eyes and keeps going with it.
Yes. That's a
And then my
great one.
second it's such a good one. And then my second one, and I watched that live. I think the ones that I watched live, like I'm talking 7 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m. in the morning, are the ones that are going to stick with me a little bit more than the ones I saw all over social media, even though I saw both of them all over social media. But the other one was Sha'Carri Richardson in the 4 by 100
Yes.
relay. She was the anchor. And with just a few meters left, she side eyes the
So good.
competition and then just speeds past them and wins gold for her team. So that to me, those two moments of Biles rolling her eye and Sha'Carri Richardson looking at the competition and then smoking them top me for the Olympics.
I love those too. I think those are iconic. I think they really fit the theme of this segment, like things that we'll remember beyond the Olympics, and they're just like things that are for like Team USA culture. Like it's like
Mhm.
in the future when there are future Olympics and they're queuing up highlight reels and trying to motivate themselves, like those are moments that they're gonna go back and look at to keep them motivated.
Beach Dog Scout with us live on YouTube says, I don't know about you all, but I'm going through Olympic withdrawals. Yeah,
Yeah, us
same.
too.
People like the
Yeah,
TikToks, they like the crossover socials, and a lot of love for Snoop Dogg, who
of course.
carried the torch. And it was like, okay, you're just going to be a little moment in these Olympics. And he took that to a whole nother level, being at what felt like every single event, learning about all the different events that take place, some of the more under the radar events like the equestrian, the dressage, the fencing, and being like the unofficial official Team USA mascot by Snoop Dogg. It was pretty
Did a
cool.
great job, and it makes me honestly, it makes me really hyped for LA 2028. So bring it.
Yes, I know. I can't believe that. That'll be here before we know it. Finally, to wrap up this Olympics chatter a little bit, the gold medal match between the U.S. women's national team and Brazil that happened last Saturday averaged 9 million viewers across NBC and Peacock, becoming the most watched gold medal soccer game since Athens in 2004. women's football is on the rise and is continuing to grow and get better. And of the players in the women's soccer tournament that won medals, so that was bronze, silver, or gold, 27 of them come from the NWSL. So 27 NWSL players are returning with Olympic gold medals. Sandra, are you
I love it.
surprised?
You know what? I shouldn't be, but there's something about seeing the number and seeing the stat like in front of your face. You're like, yeah, that's right, man. The world's best play in NWSL. And I love the graphic. Shout out to the social team, at the league putting something like this together for everybody to see, because it's across the podium, and it's across different nations as well. I think is also very, very special. Obviously USA with the bulk of those, with Brazil, Germany repping, as well. I love it. It's just come so far, man, and it's a beautiful thing.
It is the best league in the world, Sandra. It absolutely is. We're talking all about NWSL, its return, and everything that is to come later in this episode. But I just want to give some shout outs to everyone else on YouTube right now, because saying Emma Hayes and how her love for America and this team was so impressive to watch. Watching with their families, people getting around and hanging out. Kevin Hart and Keenan, their coverage of the comedy section of
PRS
it.
cargo, love it.
Exactly. Simone Biles and Jordan with Brazilian gymnastics gold winner. Juliana says it was really cool. There were a lot of great moments from these Olympics, and it was so fun to kind of reminisce on them with you, Sandra, and with everyone else joining us on YouTube.
Yeah.
But most importantly, USA wins gold in the women's Olympic soccer tournament, their 5th gold medal, their first in 12 years. And it all comes by way of Mallory Swanson, 490 days after she ruptured her patella, making it back to the gold medal match and scoring that goal. Okay, that's it. We are putting a wrap on the Olympics, a nice, pretty little bow, because we've got NWSL, Women's Super League, Barclay Super League coming, and a lot that we are going to dive into. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. It is post-Olympics football time, and that means the NWSL is finally returning with the back half of this season. On August 23rd, Friday, we will return with match day 17 in the NWSL. And I don't know about you, Sandra, but I have definitely missed it. I've missed it. The ins and outs of the season, the superstars being there. The Summer Cup was fun and all, but I'm ready to get back to the records that are being broken, the really exciting undefeated run that Orlando Pride is going on. Is Kansas City going to continue to find multiple goal scorers? So let's talk about it. What are we most excited for post-Olympics in the regular programming of this Attacking Third show, but more so regular programming of football, especially in the NWSL? So what are you watching out for over the next couple of weeks?
There's so much good stuff. I think as we're kind of like saying goodbye to the Olympics, but hopping back into NWSL, it's a nice little refresher that we're doing this, because there's so many really good storylines to follow. I think all eyes are going to be on Orlando to see if this maybe disrupts what they were building towards over the course of the first half of the season. Looking unstoppable, incredible players, Banda averaging nearly a goal a game at this point. Are they going to have enough for the playoff push to not only continue to stay at the top of the standings, but win a shield, potentially go on and win a championship? I think a lot of eyeballs are going to be on that, mine included. And I just, I do wonder, as many great things that we're talking about the Olympics, how something like that, a break in the season, or maybe playing in a Summer Cup crossover with Liga MX Femenil is something that could be considered disruptive, but we won't know until we know. I think maybe that first week back, or maybe even two, might have a little bit of a feeling of folks trying to get familiar with each other again, and see if they can pick up on that chemistry that they had before the break happened. So I think all of that exciting stuff is also, is naturally what we're going to keep an eye on. But I think all the things, in between that as well, like how they'll look on the pitch. Will there be a feeling or a layer of like preseason rust that needs to be, kicked off? Well, we'll see. I think there's going to be plenty of teams that we watch making a playoff push, but there's something to be said about maybe the top teams at the table, whether it's Orlando and Kansas City. Will they keep jockeying for position all the way down the stretch?
Yeah, the top of the table, of course, but we have expanded playoffs this year in
Oh,
the NWSL for the first time. So it's really like 10 through 8, those spots, or 10 through 7 that are going to be playing spoiler, who's going to sneak into the playoffs. That's really what I'm excited for. We're not quite there yet. We have a couple more weeks until we're truly talking like playoff push, who's going to squeak in, who's going to play spoiler. You mentioned Orlando Pride. They're on a 17 match unbeaten run right now. And can they keep that up? How long can they keep that up? You think about like Bayern Leverkusen last season and the incredible feat that they went on with the players returning from the Olympics for not just Orlando, but any of these teams. How does that change how the clubs play, right? Because these players are coming back with medals, a lot of them, 27 of them, and they have a different mindset now. Are they going to be elevated? Are they going to have that national team rub, that gold medal rub from the US players to elevate their game? But I'm really excited to see the players that have really stepped up during the Summer Cup and made themselves starters on their club rosters and proven that they deserve to be there if they can stay at the top of their game and if they can continue to push themselves to be in the rotation, whether it's coming off the bench as a game changer or pushing the starters even harder. Those are the players that I'm keyed in on to watch how they continue to level up and get better, because I love those stories. It's always fun to cheer for
yeah.
the winners and the records breakers, but it's the underdogs and the underdog players that have come in and been a really crucial part of their club season during the Summer Cup. And now, how do they continue to be involved? Stay
100%.
involved in this
I
group.
think that's a totally fair shout, and I think maybe that's a little bit of what I'm alluding to, where I'm just like, we'll see how it looks when all the teams finally come back into regular season play. I think they have a little bit of responsibility, that they're going to have to maybe step in some areas. Because I mean, look, the Olympics are such a gauntlet, right? We're talking a ton of games, quick succession, and depending on where specific teammates may have ended up, over the course of the Olympic Games, might come into play in terms of their return to play and how quickly that looks. So, like, if you're one of these teams that ended up making it to a medal match or the gold medal match specifically, maybe you're not playing right away, in this first weekend home. It's been typically when players have come back from major tournaments, they take a little while to get back into play. So, hopefully, what we saw during summer camp, we might see a little bit of continuity there.
And all the internationals that are coming in, or the trades and transfers that have happened over the last several weeks that are not set to make their appearance with their club teams in NWSL until after this international break, which with the conclusion of the Olympics will end after this weekend. And then we get to see players like Lacey Santos at Washington Spirit. And a lot of these transfers that have happened make their debuts with their club teams in the NWSL. So I'm excited for that too. There's a lot. It's like almost like a new season
Yeah,
entirely for the NWSL
a little
now.
bit, a little bit. Yeah.
Chaotic energy for sure. But what are the most potentially chaotic things that could come from the second half of this NWSL season is all the records that are going to be broken. And I say this with an emphatic period at the end of my sentence because they are going to be broken. It just depends which ones, whether it's the assist by Croix Bethune or unbeaten streak by Orlando Pride or golden boot race by Barbara Banda and Temla Shawinga. There are a lot of different elements here. So of all of them, Sandra, I'm going to say, which one for you is the number one record that is set to be broken? And while you're telling us, everyone joining us live on YouTube, let us know in the chat which record is going to fall this season. But Sandra, let us know. What are you thinking?
Oh my goodness. It's coming down to, I think, two big ones, right? I think when we're looking at this segment and thinking about like who's gonna get what, I think the Golden Boot race was already heating up before the break. But that is something that we're watching taking place between multiple players. And I think there's something really special about maybe watching individual brilliance as well. So while that's going to be changing, I think week to week from Chewinga to Banda, Smith, maybe even Swanson and Sarr continue to score some goals with the team to make things interesting down the stretch. I'm going to keep my eyes on Croix Bethune because the assist record feels like something that only one player is really chasing this season. And not only is one player chasing it this season, she's doing it in her rookie year. And I think that just adds an extra layer of just sort of special type of history. So I'm going to keep an eye on that one in particular. And unlike the goals, the golden boot, I don't know when. We don't really know when or if this record will be broken because it's 10 assists, which is set by Tobin Heath. And while Croix Bethune is at 9 right now, you still have to have that game where it happens. And I think it could happen in, who knows, it could happen in right that first week when they come back, and it could happen on or it could happen on the final week of
Final day.
the
Yeah,
season.
that's
So
so
it's like
true.
there's some emotional highs and lows with that. I think that maybe some folks will be invested in.
I think that Croix is hands down going to break the
Yeah, I
single
agree.
season assist record. The rookie out of University of Georgia, she spent time in California, playing with Washington Spirit has just been incredible. And she was with the U.S. in Paris and got to make the game day roster and have an Olympic debut. And this is a player that has 100% been a sponge over the last 5 weeks at the international level, learning and growing. And because of that, she is going to come back to Washington and be a lightning bolt, attracting everything, creating chances. And as you mentioned, Croix Bethune right now is at 9 assists. The record is 10. That was set by Tobin Heath in 2016 when she was with the Portland Thorns, right?
Long time ago. It's a long-standing record.
I'm gonna say Portland Thorns in 2016 by
Yeah,
Tobin
it was
Heath,
Thorns.
and if Croix gets 1, then she ties it. So she has to get 2 more, and there are
Yeah,
10 games left in the season. Hands down, it's a doable. Hands down, like, Croix Bethune is going to do that as a rookie, put her in the race for MVP of the year,
oh
rookie of the
gosh, yeah,
year. This player is just about to have the best 2024 of her life with
for sure.
everything that is coming down the pipe for her. You mentioned the Golden Boot race with Barbara Banda and Chewinga. They are both sitting at the top of the standings of the Golden Boot race. Chewinga just went ahead only on assists, but Barbara Banda has 12 goals in 12 games. Sandra, there are 10 games left of the NWSL season, and Banda only needs 7 more to break the record. So the record right now is 18, set by Sam Kerr when she was with Chicago Red Stars, but 19 would break the record. Between Banda and Chewinga, who breaks it?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think if we're playing averages, I think maybe I lean towards Banda a little bit, like getting a little bit of a later start into the regular season with Orlando, but that not stopping her production by any means. 12 goals, 12 appearances. We're talking nearly a goal a game at this point. I think it's more likely for her to grab it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if things stay kind of neck and neck all the way through the remainder of the season. But one thing I do want to see is I just want to see that record
Mhm.
get broken because it's been like we're talking about legendary players of NWSL who have set these records and they've been standing for years now. We're talking Tobin Heath's assist record since 2016, and now we're talking about Sam Kerr's Golden Boot record, which has been standing since 2019. And so it's like it feels kind of like it's time. Like it's time for some new players to make some noise, to make some history in NWSL, and records are there to be broken, right? So I'm with you. I think 100% we're gonna get to see some records broken, whether it's Croix Bethune in the assist record, and I just feel like it just depends on who is going to be doing the breaking of the record for Golden Boot between Chewinga and Banda. But I'm going to swing more Banda's direction.
Ooh, I'm swinging more Banda too, but because I mean, for a number of reasons, because of her physicality on the ball and her commitment to do this and the players she has around her, but also in fairness sake, because I also want Kansas City to get
Yes.
more goal scorers on the same team, like more field players to score goals. Hey, we could even get a goalkeeper goal because there are only 5 field players that have seen the field for Kansas City that have not scored. So that's a record I want Kansas City to break. Just have everyone score, share the wealth a little bit more. And because of that, Shawinga is going to have to, get some more assists because she'll be passing it to those players. And then Banda's going to get the golden boot. It's all very logical in my brain,
I love
Sandra.
it. I'm just over here
Obvious.
like, that just sounds like exciting soccer for us to watch. So
That's
I'm here
all.
for it.
That's all I'm here for. We did poll the audience on YouTube right now asking if Orlando will go undefeated throughout the rest of the season. 88% said no. 12% said yes. Sandra, yes or no? Will Orlando go undefeated the rest of the season?
I respect it, and I'm gonna vote amongst and with the people. I think it's a tough season to keep that sort of energy going throughout the remainder. We're talking what, 26 fixtures at this point. So I'm gonna go with the no. But who knows? Maybe it might only be like one. It might be only like one like loss. Like who knows? We'll see.
I want to go with no. I don't think Orlando will go undefeated because I want them to do well in the postseason.
Yeah.
And if you go undefeated through the entire
You got
regular
it. Yeah.
season,
Yeah.
you're gonna stumble and fall. And when you lose, you learn a lot through the adversity. Maybe there'll be like a run of ties for Orlando that does keep them undefeated, but I think that they will fall down and only to get back up stronger and then make a great run in the postseason. During this summer, we had the NWSL Liga MX Summer Cup crossover tournament, the inaugural one that happened. And ultimately, it's Kansas City Current and Gotham FC advancing out of their group through the semifinals. And they will play in the Summer Cup final on October 25th in San Antonio, Texas. Sandra, when you look at this tournament, this was an opportunity for coaches to continue to develop their style, the foundation of which they wanted to play football, get some national team replacement players in, some younger players time. We saw the return of forward Kristen Press at Angel City. So when you look at the Summer Cup tournament over the last few weeks, which team benefited the most from this inaugural tournament?
Oh my goodness, it's a toss up for me, honestly. It's got to be either Gotham or the Courage at this point. I lean for those two because we saw the Courage kind of take a little bit of a stumble in their form kind of in the mid part of that first half of the season, but they closed out going into the Summer Cup on really good form. And I think for all of the reasons that you've already mentioned in terms of the importance of having these type of competitions for bench depth and for players to get that experience, there's a reason why there's a roster that you rate as a coaching staff. Like you have your ideal starters, your preferred lineup, and then you have your depth players who you're like, okay, you're our fourth forward, like that's where you're going to be, and we see this as your responsibility. And now you're in Summer Cup, maybe getting those opportunities. And I think if you are a team that is trying to continue to stay within that upper half of the table, you want to have the depth of your bench really, really, really informed going into this second half of the season with the playoff push. And if you're Gotham, who we saw really riding waves of momentum, I mean, bullying their way back up into the top of the table, my goodness, I think they're just going to be even more dangerous coming out of this Olympic break and the Summer Cup. And they're going to need those players because they had some of the most club representation across medal winning teams in the Olympics. So they are going to have to rely a little bit on some of those depth players that we got to see throughout the Summer Cup.
Sandra, that is absolutely on the same page as me. Gotham FC had the best summer in terms of how they were able to respond with missing so many players gone at the Olympics and ultimately winning medals. But Kansas City, yes, they've made it all the way to the Summer Cup final, but they really didn't lose a lot of their roster. It looked relatively the same from regular season into the Summer Cup, whereas Gotham was without their goalkeeper. They were without a lot of their back line with Sonnet and Davidson. There was just so many different pieces missing for Gotham where they had to adapt and overcome in order to move forward. And they did that, making it all the way to the final. I like your honorable mention shout for North Carolina too, because I wanted them to go all the way. I predicted that they were going to win the whole thing. They're
Same.
out at this point, but I wanted them to do well because they were building, they were having momentum. They looked like they were a train just picking up steam, barreling down the tracks. But ultimately, Gotham has done so well. Cassie Miller in goal has been absolutely a standout, keeping shutout after shutout and working on her distribution and kickstarting the attack for Gotham. And then at the other end of the pitch, forward Ella Stevens, who has completely grown into her own with this Gotham side during the regular season. And she has continued to get better during the Summer Cup. She was not stagnant at all. She wanted to continue to work on herself and her skills. And doing that with a lot of different players around her proved how impressive and dedicated Stevens is to her craft. We did a poll on YouTube. Who's going to win the Summer Cup 2024? 75% say Gotham FC and 25% say KC Current. I
Wow.
love that. October
Okay.
25th, the Summer Cup final, Gotham against Kansas City. We will preview that and talk way more about that once we get into our second summer that comes in October, because that's what we're doing.
That's what
Okay,
we're
don't
doing.
go anywhere. We've got plenty more attacking there. We're talking England football, WSL, when we get back. Stick with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. There is the start of the Barclays WSL season, Sandra, just a month away. And before we get that, the United States is getting a little visit from two Super League title contenders, Arsenal and Chelsea, coming to the States. Sunday, August 18th, Arsenal is going to take on Washington Spirit at Audi Field. That match at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in Washington, D.C. And then the next day, Monday, August 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time at Red Bull Arena, Chelsea is taking on Gotham FC. This is absolutely electric to not only see these Super League teams in their preseason getting ready for the WSL season, but going up against two top teams in the NWSL with Washington and Gotham. The Gotham FC announced that they're going to partner with MSG Networks and DAZN to broadcast the friendly against Chelsea. That is Monday, August 19th at 7 p.m., which is awesome. But then August 25th, this is really where my calendar has been circled, because we got a double header in Washington, D.C. Kansas City taking on Washington Spirit in the NWSL regular season. And then at 4 p.m., immediately following Kansas City, Washington, it is Chelsea versus Arsenal at Audi Field. How cool is it that Arsenal and Chelsea are coming to the States and doing a little East Coast tour?
I love it. More crossover like this at all levels. It's coming. It's finally arrived. Like the announcement had happened already a little while ago, but I love that the game is finally on the brink of happening, and it's coming kind of in line with an announcement that we got for the U.S. Women's National Team, how they are going to head to England and play at Wembley Stadium against the Lionesses to close out the year in November. And so I love this kind of crossover. I think it's very important, to see these teams not only like give fans a chance to maybe look at these very iconic brands in the States, but these players who are going to be the players that we see in those major Olympic tournaments and World Cups, and even in maybe during those international windows and friendlies against the United States. So I'm super hyped for this. As a Blues fan, I am deeply sad that I'm not going to be able to get it up close and personal and watch it. But that doesn't mean that folks in those areas are in the same position as I am. So I hope they get out there and enjoy the game. But it's massive. It's absolutely massive.
And if you're just crazy enough, like myself, you can take the train to DC and then take the train to Red Bull, and in back-to-back days, see all 4 teams competing, and
There you
that's
go.
potentially what I'll be doing. Catch me on the Amtrak going up and down the East Coast. But in this off season, heading into the Barclays Women's Super League season, there were a lot of trades and a lot of moves that have happened. Some of the most notable ones with Chelsea, Emma Hayes saying goodbye after 12 years with the Blues, and then winning gold with the U.S. women's national team. What a crazy story. But Sandra, when you think about all the different teams, the trades, the transfers, the moves, and how entirely different a lot of the rosters look in the WSL, which team had the most impactful offseason?
Oh my goodness, this might be like recency bias, but I really like the moves that Arsenal made. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later, but I think this is the team that maybe took a look at where their standing was just last season, and they're saying that wasn't enough. We've got to try to make a move here because not only did they miss out on winning the league, but they also missed out on retaining one of their most prolific goal scorers. So they had to try to make some exciting moves. I'm also eager to see Lucy Bronze in a Chelsea kit,
Yes.
like here for that as well. And I think I would also lump in like Manchester United a little bit in terms of that team that needed to make moves and that they had to show that they were active in that summer transfer window. In order to retain a level of competition to kind of build off of what they've been trying to build off over the last couple seasons. So I shockingly, maybe those two teams out of the what could be considered like the big four of Women's Super League, I'm really excited to see how those signings have panned out.
I like that you gave a shout to Arsenal because they got goalkeeper Daphne Van Domselaar, right? They've added her, Rosa Kafaji, who we will talk a little bit about. But the loss to Vivian Miedema to me for Arsenal is
Ugh,
bigger than
massive.
any of the gains. It is. And that is a really big hole and a change in which Jonas Edvall is going to have to adjust and overcome this season with Arsenal because they want nothing more than a WSL title. They want nothing more than that, and it is going to be an uphill climb. For me, it was Chelsea that had the most impactful offseason, probably because they dug themselves the biggest hole. They
Uh,
did.
yeah.
Losing Hayes is probably the biggest loss that they could have ever tried to overcome. Then they lose defender Jess Carter and Fran Kirby, who leaves the Blues as well. So there were a lot of holes to replace. Sam Kerr announces she's staying. She'll be back from her injury that she suffered last year with her ACL tear. She'll be back this season with the Blues. They still have Lauren James. But they gained Lucy Bronze and Sandy Baltimore. And Lucy Bronze to be in a Chelsea uniform competing with this team has not missed a beat. Coming over from Barcelona, she understands the culture and how to win. And then with Sonia Bonpastor as the new head coach of Chelsea, it was going to be impossible to replace Emma Hayes. There is no one quite like her as a manager in the world. And they needed to go in a different direction. And going with Sonia Bonpastor is an absolute win. She is going to change the style of how this Chelsea side plays. She's going to bring a little French flair into the Super League. She is going to just provide a little bit more from this Chelsea side that I think could have them back at the top of the table, potentially lifting the trophy at the end of it all, which is very exciting to think about. We haven't even started the season yet, and I'm just thinking about the title race.
I know. I'm with it. And I mean, and look, and this is part of the energy. I mean, a couple of these teams are going to be playing stateside. I'm here for it. And who knows, maybe you'll get it. Maybe like we'll get a glimpse of, which way coaches are leaning in terms of, preferential starting lineups, players that they want to see in that. I mean, that's where all that stuff is so much fun for me. I mean, I remember going to cover like IEC tournaments, and
Yeah.
that's where you get to see these iconic players, like seeing Bonmati and on the pair, seeing Puteas, like going up against NWSL sides, and I don't know. Well, we'll see, and get a chance to maybe see them in those new kits, those new jerseys. Like
Yeah.
people are like,
Oh, the
it's gonna be
Arsenal ones
strange.
are sick.
They're like, we're gonna get this. There are people who are like, oh, it's gonna be weird seeing Lucy Bronze in a Chelsea kit, but I also can't wait to see it. Like,
I know. That's so true. Well, everyone can watch all of the Barclays Women's Super League on YouTube. They've announced that that's where their games will be streaming. So they have a new Barclays Women's Super League YouTube page that they launched, and there'll be a lot of coverage there. So definitely be sure to check that out, or you can watch all of those games. And of course, the USL Super League's inaugural season kicks off this weekend. But we are going to chat a lot more about that on Thursday's episode of Attacking Third. Okay, don't go anywhere. We have our final segment of In Case You Missed It coming up next to fill you in. You do not want to miss this. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. In case you missed it, there was a lot of news and a lot of transfers that have happened over the last several weeks, and we are running through all of them alongside Sandra. I'm Lisa. Let's start with Swedish forward Rosa Kafaji, who has signed for Arsenal. She joins from Häcken in Sweden. She's made 46 appearances and she scored 19 goals, and she's already in training, rocking number 16 for Arsenal, Sandra.
I love it. I'm so hyped. When I saw this signing, I was like, yes, this is what it's about. I mean, shout out to everyone's favorite dark horse, Häcken. We were watching them through the Champions League, and this was a player I think that we were all particularly, impressed with, and we loved watching her tenacity on the pitch throughout some of those Champions League games. And it just felt like we were just getting a glimpse of this player, and it sort of looked like, hey, the performances that she's putting week in and week out for this side will only lead to new opportunities. And here it comes in the way as a new signing with Arsenal. So young player with the Swedish national team program, and you have to imagine that this is really just the start for her.
Rosa Kafaji, 21 years old, so a lot of her game left to play and to develop. And head coach at Arsenal, Jonas Edeval, is probably going to do a really good job of shaping her and making her into a top WSL player. In the NWSL, it's been a long time coming. We've been talking about the 16th expansion team for, Sandra, I don't know, years? It feels
Forever.
like years
Yeah.
we've been talking about this. We don't have it yet. Don't worry, everyone. We're not breaking news here on Attacking Third yet. However, it is set to be announced soon where that 16th team is going to come. The 15th one has already been announced in Boston, and there's been a lot of news coming out of Cleveland Pro Soccer announcing most recently that 15 local investors have invested into Cleveland and turning them into one of the premier bids ahead of the next round of NWSL expansion. So this opens the door, Sandra, to our favorite conversation. Where are we going to get the 16th NWSL team? And is it Cleveland?
I don't know if I would say it's Cleveland, but I respect them so much for making sure that they still remain relevant and within the conversation of future NWSL expansion. 15 local investors. Congrats to them. I mean, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to not even just put together a bid, but to make sure that you want to sustain a professional sports franchise. Like it takes a lot. I will say this. I deeply, deeply hope and believe that that secondary expansion announcement for 2026, we already know one of them is Boston, and I really do feel like we could get a team in a central area of the country. I can't refer to it as Midwest because maybe like they might look somewhere just in the middle, but I would like that to happen. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it'll be Cleveland. But they are doing a very good job of making sure that they stay in the headlines, in the mix, in the conversation.
Yeah, Cleveland at the top of that list. I've got like no shade against Cleveland. My dad's from Cleveland. I spent a lot of time there growing up visiting his parents. But I just don't know if it's going to happen for this
Yeah.
16th club, right? There are a
Correct.
lot of opportunities. Even look in the USL Super League. Like there are opportunities for expansion and growth there, which is a top tier Division 1 league starting. But Denver has been swirling around a
Yeah.
lot. There's been a lot of moves in Denver to bring women's professional soccer there. We'll see. We'll see. Commissioner of the NWSL, Jessica Berman, every time I talk to her, I'm like, so Commissioner, do
Yeah.
we have a team? What's happening? She's probably like, Lisa, get away from me at this point. But we'll see. Of course, as soon as any news happens with NWSL expansion, we will keep you updated here on Attacking Third. There are a number of changes that have come in NWSL rosters starting in the West Coast. San Diego Wave has mutually parted ways with defender Sierra Enge as she pursues opportunities abroad. Orlando Pride have placed midfielder Grace Chanda on the season-ending injury list after suffering a ruptured quadricep tendon in her right leg. That happened at the Paris Olympics. So Chanda will not be returning to Orlando, and she will not be available for selection moving forward. Out of Racing Louisville, goalkeeper Olivia Sekeni has been activated off the 45-day injured list. So we love to see that. Welcome back to the playing field, Olivia. And then we have some fun news, Sandra, because after the U.S. women's national team won gold and the game-winning goal scored by Mallory Swanson, a sixth grade yearbook photo surfaced of Swanson, who was formerly Mallory Pugh. And she said, quote, "I want to be on the USA soccer team and win a gold medal," in sixth grade. And she did that, Sandra, and she
Check.
scored a game-winning goal. How cool.
I love that we brought this on in the In Case You Missed This segment. I love this image. I love that it's been circulating. I also love the lore around it. Like, no, it's a real photo, but like nobody actually knows where it came from or who actually posted it first. Like, which social media channel did it come off of? But I love it. Look at big smiles and even bigger smiles when she won the gold.
Sandra, what was in your sixth grade yearbook about what you wanted to do in the
Oh my
future?
God. It was probably something with like, honestly, I love animals. So it was probably something like, I want to be a veterinarian or something. And I was like, then I
Be a
grew up.
farmer.
Yeah, right. Like I want to have a farm with chickens, like probably something like that. Who knows?
I don't know what mine was. Probably something like basic, like I want to be a teacher,
Yeah, right.
and I
Like,
could never. So God bless all the teachers out there.
and
You
that's
guys,
why Malpew is Malpew and we are who we
that's
are.
why you're not a farmer or a veterinarian, and I'm not a teacher. But Mallory Pugh, Mallory Swanson, go off, girl. We're so proud of you. There are some rumors that have been swirling around, and we're just gonna, address them head on right here. Portuguese forward Jessica Silva is potentially leaving Benfica and returning to the NWSL. There's rumors around her heading to Gotham FC. This is according to Ebola. This would be a crazy move, Sandra, if Jess Silva came to Gotham FC under Juan Carlos Amaros.
Yeah, love a rumor. We've been working on Olympics, so haven't had enough time to see if I can confirm things stateside. But Jessica Silva's no stranger to the NWSL. I'd love to see her make a return. Maybe Gotham is a good fit as they've got a lot of players who they need to get back into the mix from the Olympics. But I'm not too sure where she would rank on the depth chart for them.
Yeah, it could be tough. Maybe not see too many minutes. Okay, another big rumor coming out of Arsenal. Forward Chloe Lacasse, Canadian international, is set to leave Arsenal this summer with the NWSL her likely destination. This comes from Tim Stillman, who is an Arsenal women's correspondent. Would we like to see Chloe Lacasse in the NWSL?
Yes, 100%. Lloyd
Yes.
Class was a player that we were screaming about wanting to get more minutes in Arsenal. So of course we would love to see her in NWSL. Well, we'll see. Hopefully there's some juice to this rumor.
Oh, I hope so. Let us know. Where do you want to see Jess Silva and Chloe Lacasse in the NWSL? We will be back in studio tomorrow, August 15th, Thursday, in studio with Attacking Third. Darian Jenkins, Aaron West is on the show. Sandra, you'll be there. I'll be there. We'll be hanging out. And don't forget to vote for Attacking Third in the People's Choice Podcast Awards. If you received an email, vote for us in the final. Thank you so much. Sandra, this was so fun to be back with you today.
I love being back. being back with you and the people. Let's go.
I do too. Oh, it's great. We put a bow on the Olympics. We talked NWSL. We talked the WSL. And we're going to dive more into the USL Super League that's starting this weekend in our show on Thursday. But thank you, everyone, so much for joining us. Make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're also available on youtube.com/Attacking Third. And you can watch us on CBS Sports Golazo Network for all your women's football coverage. For Mark, Sandra, and Lisa, this was Attacking Third.